Hello, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the example 7.7 cash flow summary. Hopefully you can go ahead and follow along as I go through this example. And what we're looking at here with the cash flow summary is basically we are looking at cash inflows. That's what you see at the top of the page here. Cash inflows for each and every month. This particular cash flow summary is broken into individual months. And then also looking at expenses for each month. And the reason for doing that is after we figure out the incomes and expenses for each individual month, what we can do then is look at net cash flows for each and every month. And the reason we use a cash flow summary is to develop a cash flow projection for the upcoming year. And when we develop this cash flow summary, we can determine when we need to borrow money and when we can pay the money back. If we review here just a second, you can see that this particular farm has market cattle, corn, soybeans, market swine, hires out some labor and does some custom baling. Those are the sources of income, and you can see the ups and downs throughout the year. Pretty typical of a farming operation. Months of high income, months of low income. Expenses are the same way. We have some months with larger expenses, some months with lower expenses. Seed, fertilizer, rent, feeder cattle purchases, feeder pigs, chemicals, fuel, hired labor, machinery repairs, machinery purchases, feed, medication, loan payments, taxes, miscellaneous. This is just a real basic example of what a cash flow summary projection would look like. You could go ahead and use this for your own farming operation. Add categories, delete, whatever you'd want to do. Once we get all the incomes and expenses for each month into our cash flow summary, we develop a net cash flow by simply taking the incomes for the month minus expenses for the month. And after we have that established for each month, we would just simply take that cell where our formula is at and drag it. And that's how we would get the net cash flow for every month. So after we figure out the net cash flow for every month, we don't even need the top of that page. All we need now is the bottom, because this is where we're going to figure out where our monthly borrowings, monthly payments, and our outstanding loan balance. Okay, so let's go through this. We're going to go through this item by item, and I'll show you how we figure this out. Okay, the first thing that we know that the very first month is January. And we begin the year, I give this to you, your very beginning month, very first of the year, we begin with a cash balance, checking account. This most likely represents our farm checking account, by the way. Our beginning cash balance is $3,675. Now, for whatever reason, we have a big cash inflow in January. It looks like we sell a lot of corn and swine, market pigs, in January. Okay, we do have some expenses like some machinery purchases, etc. But in any case, we have a large net cash inflow. So the first thing that we're going to figure out for every month is the cash available before borrowing. You figure that out by simply taking beginning cash balance plus monthly net cash flow. So for January, we have a net or cash available before borrowing of $88,811. We're in good shape. We don't need to borrow money. We began the year, we have an outstanding loan balance. If there's nothing in the cell, it means that it's at a zero. we certainly don't have to borrow any more money. We have $88,000 to work with here. So because we borrow no money or pay no money off, our ending cash balance is exactly what our cash available before borrowing is. Cash available before borrowing is exactly what it says. It's the money we have available to us before we borrow. Remember, for our examples here, for any of our worksheets, our goal is to have an ending cash balance for every time period of $1,000. Well, we're way over that. We have $88,000. So we're not going to borrow anymore. We have no outstanding operating loan, so we're not going to make a monthly repayment. Let's go on to February now. I'm going to freeze these panes so that we can scroll down here and still have our headings. Okay, so we ended January with the $88,811. We need to figure out now the beginning balance for February. Well, that's actually pretty easy. Beginning balance for February is the ending balance from January. January 31st, 11:59 p.m., we had $88,811. 12 o'clock midnight or 12 a.m. February 1st, we still have $88,811. Now, let's review cash available before borrowing. Again, take beginning cash balance plus net cash flow. In this case, negative $38,250. Cash available before borrowing, $50,561. Again, we had a zero outstanding loan balance. We have no money to pay back. In other words, we obviously have to borrow no money right now. We're at a positive $50,000. So our ending cash balance is $50,561. Now what I can do, by the way, if I'm using an Excel file, is if I want to complete this spreadsheet, I can just drag formulas across like so. So my ending cash balance here will always automatically update here. I'll do it by hand for now just so you get an idea of where these numbers come from, a review of where our numbers come from. Again, our beginning cash balance in March was the ending cash balance in February. Our cash available before borrowing, once again, it's beginning cash balance plus the net cash flow. Uh-oh, we have a negative $5,139. As I said, we always want to have an ending cash balance of $1,000. So it looks like we're going to have to borrow money. Now, how much money do we need to borrow so that we have an ending cash balance of 5,100, or excuse me, if we have an ending cash balance of 1,000, well, we're going to need to borrow $6,139. So ending cash balance equals cash available before borrowing plus any monthly borrowing and subtracting any repayments. In other words, if we repaid our loan, we would take that out of our cash available before borrowing. Now we do have a loan balance. Our outstanding loan balance equals the balance from the previous month plus any more borrowing, subtract any repayments. Again, that was the outstanding balance from the previous month plus any more borrowing, subtract any repayments. I will go ahead and copy that formula down so that you can see that we still owe that money. That is owed unless we paid off. Okay. In April, we have another positive month. We have a beginning cash balance of $1,000. We ended with $1,000 in the last month. So our cash available before borrowings is nice $17,900. And that will be our ending cash balance unless we decide to pay off this loan. If I come down here and pay off the loan, then I have a cash available, or excuse me, an ending cash balance of $11,761. That comes out of our cash available before borrowing. We pay off the note, the rest is our ending cash balance. You could pay off that loan if you wanted to, or reduce that loan debt if you want to, but you can see that upcoming months we're going to need to borrow money again anyway. So let's just say we don't pay that loan off because we know we're going to need to borrow here anyway. We just won't need to borrow as much because we didn't pay off that loan. So to make sure that we end with an $1,000 ending balance, right now my cash available before borrowing is negative $17,550. So I borrow $18,550. You can see now I have an ending cash balance of $1,000. My outstanding loan balance is $24,689. We had an outstanding loan balance of $6,000 and change. We add another $18,550 to bring our grand total now to the $24,689. I went ahead and expanded that row of cells. I'm going to do that all the way across here because by now hopefully you have the idea of how we compute our beginning cash balances, our cash available for borrowing, and our ending cash balance. The neat thing about a spreadsheet here is now that I've expanded and copied these formulas, I can just simply come in here and look at my cash available before borrowings that are negative and go ahead in those months borrow the money that's needed to have an ending cash balance of $1,000. In June I have a negative $19,250, so I borrow $20,250. And when I do that, look what happens. The rest of the year ends in a positive. So if I look ahead and I ask myself next, well, when can I pay this loan off? Well, I could pay it off in July, but then I can see in August I have a negative balance again. So what I do is I wait till I have a nice balance. It looks like in October I have a nice balance that's going to cover this. I'm going to pay this loan off here. There's no right or wrong answer here. In this example it worked. Now I have a zero loan balance and I still have positive ending cash balances. You wouldn't have to pay it off there if you really want to. Okay, yeah, you could pay part of it off there. Again, you're going to have to borrow again here and then pay the remainder off here. Yes, of course, you would pay less interest costs this way by paying it off faster. In any case, it does just keep it simpler if we pay the whole thing off at one time. Right there. So I hope this makes sense to you. Again, all we have figured out how to do here is the cash available before borrowing by taking beginning cash balance plus net cash flow. The ending cash balance by taking the cash available before borrowing plus any monthly borrowing and subtracting any repayments. Then also figuring out our outstanding loan balance. That will always be the ending balance from the previous month plus any borrowing, subtract any repayment. Once again, hopefully you have found this video helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, give me a call, or stop by my office, and I'll do my very best to help you out the very best that I can. Thanks for your attention and good luck.